It's almost beta season for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, and usually around this time of year, I kind of have a pit in my stomach before the next beta launches. Now, I have seen some mixed opinions on this title, but I don't think it's receiving as much pre-hate as Black Ops 7 did. So I think that's cool. Could be for a few different reasons though. Now, I did make a Modern Warfare 4 video a couple of months back, so some stuff might be regurgitated, but I do want to talk about some things that we know so far. I'm not going to say everything we know so far, but I guess essentially things that kind of caught my ears and eyes the best. And I know it may or may not seem way too early to talk about ranked play, but we're going to squeeze in some Modern Warfare 4 ranked play talk as well. Now, if you guys have been watching some of the episodes of The Ward, it's essentially the behind the scenes of the Infinity Ward team putting together Modern Warfare 4 pretty much from front to back. But I think this whole The Ward aspect is going to be very similar to Treyarch's dev talks. Maybe, maybe not, but quoting Mark Grigsby, he's the big dog over there at IW, but he said a philosophy of his in the game is every time you pull the trigger on a weapon to make it feel like the weapon is there in real life. That's one thing that sounds good, but can also raise some eyebrows. That being said, another developer on the team, Randon Sharon, I hope I didn't butcher his name, but he does acknowledge that it's important to try to replicate the realism while mentioning that it is difficult to do that as a developer, to have realism in a weapon while simultaneously still making it feel like a video game. So I do appreciate the fact that he even acknowledged that. Now, weapon designer over at IW, Cody Pearson, he mentioned that they rely on feedback from each other as developers. So I heard that and I'm like, okay, cool. What about the community though? Respectfully, not saying this to put anybody in a corner, but if we have beef with something as consumers, just an extreme example, let's say if the community ultimately hates one kind of iron sight, will they be willing to go ahead and shave that iron sight down, make it a little bit smaller or whatever? Or will it be one of those things where it's like, okay, well, my team thinks it's fine, so it's fine. Will they take our feedback though? I guess that's something we're gonna have to wait and see. He also mentioned that they set out to make a game that plays better than everything and look better than everything ever before. Those are some strong words, man. And I mean, like, saying things are looking better, you can obviously argue graphics typically get a little bit better every year, because a lot of people will argue Modern Warfare 2, the OG, was the best Modern Warfare of all time, or Call of Duty 4 was one of the best Call of Duties of all time. Those are both really valid takes. But obviously, we were pretty much freaking kids when those games came out, dog. Like, at that point in time, I only got on a computer to play freaking cool math games or Funbrain or some shit. I wasn't really aware that people were gaming on PCs. And obviously, as gaming became a little more popular on PC, I do think things are evolving kind of fast. But yes, those are some strong words, man. So I'm hoping they can at least fill some of those shoes. Not banking on it, but I think I can see the vision. And the game does look pretty solid in my opinion so far. It doesn't look as dull as Modern Warfare 19, but it also doesn't look as vibrant as Modern Warfare 23. Now look, I'm an old head. One of my favorite Call of Duties of all time was Call of Duty World at War. That was, I think, one of the most dark, grim, gray Call of Duty titles ever. So when I'm saying dull, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. But I do think Modern Warfare 4 has a good middle ground on the eye candy. Also, it was said that we have more control over our weapons than ever before. Again, that term ever before is starting to sound like marketing to a certain degree, but that could mean anything though. It kind of sounded good when I first heard it. Then I thought about the competitive scene. That could be something that might take a bite out of the skill gap. What's your take on that though? Maybe I'm cherry picking or reaching for the stars, but I've said it before. I think IW is a stubborn studio. Hopefully this isn't another game for the folks that only play 3 hours a week. Now let's dig into the game for a second here. One thing that I think has been marketed a good bit is kill block. I understand it's just one mode. I don't think it's anything that we're gonna have to really invest in, but I'm kind of skeptical about this. Let's say you spawn into a kill block, but you end up playing on, I don't know, like 10 or 15 different maps. Right now, it almost feels like Call of Duty's answer to TikTok. Constantly changing, always something new, in a mode where you're not just letting players settle in. I mean, it could be one of those things where everybody is just craving the next new thing nowadays. That could be one of the reasons why they're implementing something like this. But look, long before I even thought about creating on YouTube, YouTube spawned in like 2005, right? For years, I was sparking up YouTube, sitting down on the couch, sitting down on my computer, and watching videos that were like, I don't know, 8 to 30 minutes long for the most part. Even during the little pandy-wandy situation where TikTok kind of took over the world, essentially, I was never really a scroll type person, because when you really think about it, you could scroll for an hour and you will not remember the first video you watched unless you like sent it to a buddy or something. I don't think that's good for our brain health. But let's say if you're watching a 2-hour podcast, you'll typically remember how that podcast started. And again, not to get all freaking psychological and neurological and all that shit, although that is kind of part of my brand, I don't like the fact that Call of Duty is trying to perpetuate that. They could have left that shit to Fortnite or some shit, in my opinion. And again, I'm sure it's just one mode. I don't have to play it if I don't want to. I'm sure you don't have to play it if you don't want to, but just wanted to rant about that a little bit. Now, Hijack. This has my attention. This is supposed to be the new swing mode, replacing Overload and Control in competitive. This could be a W, but from what I'm hearing, it has DNA of Demolition, Uplink, and a little bit of Overload. I'll absolutely dig deeper into this as we get more intel. So there's something called the data spike, but maybe we could call it the device, the ball, whatever the case may be. As you can guess, we essentially have to deliver it into the enemy's spawn or whatever. But I think in the game it's called like the enemy's data tower. And like, let's say this year in Overload, if you have the device or the ball or whatever, it takes a spot of your primary weapon. So you're kind of forced to run around with your pistol and the Overload device, the EMP, whatever the fuck that shit is called. Me and my squad call it the ball. But with Hijack, this device is going to take the spot of your lethal equipment slot. So I think this could be fire because you might be able to make passes like Chris Paul. Again, something we're going to have to wait and see once we actually have our hands on it though. Hopefully it's available in the beta. I kind of doubt it. But us rank play folks, I think it's something we need to see ASAP, because Control wasn't it, Overload wasn't it, and if the swing mode absolutely has to have something to do with like a device being ran into the enemy zone, they gotta figure out a way to make it work, man. But like, let's say if you can actually make plays, you know, make some creative passes and all that, that kind of stuff is going to create a real skill gap. And I mean, we did gloss over movement in the last MW4 4 video, like the ledge hanging, the shimmying, the backslide or whatever. As somebody that liked Omni movement, I think it's pretty interesting, but I'm definitely reserving judgment until I actually play it. Now, a couple of months ago, I was kind of misunderstanding the term bloom, right? So one of the developers did go ahead and kind of explain himself. He was pretty much saying that bloom was literally just like the game kind of rolled the dice when you were hip firing, and it kind of just shot wherever, which I guess if you shot a gun in real life, a rifle or a shotgun at least, it can feel that way if you don't have that much control over the weapon. But again, this is a video game. I do think it's important that your bullets kind of go where you are centering. So I definitely see why that's gone, because in certain games like the bloom, you can actually see where the bullet is going. For the most part in COD, you don't really see where the bullet is going. It really just goes straight to the target damn near the second you pull the trigger. And I think one of their philosophies behind this is like, you could learn the recoil pattern, right? With that bloom system, you couldn't really learn that. Now, I did gloss over the visuals earlier, but the devs are trying to find a middle ground with the visuals. They're adjusting things like the depth of field to balance realism, and I'm sure we'll still be able to turn that shit off in the settings. But especially with IW, they've had a really hard time balancing realism with like arcadeism. And I know that's not even freaking a word, but I know you know what I mean. All of the Warzone era Modern Warfare titles, they've all had some crazy visual recoil except Modern Warfare 3. That's why we've been going straight to the settings at launch, straight to the settings during the beta, and turning off any kind of visual nonsense, visual clutter, all of that stuff. And for the most part, I've always looked at COD as an arcade shooter. Like, no matter how battlefieldy it kind of turned into in the Warzone era, I think the cleaner visuals make for a better competitive game. Could be a faded take, but I'll die on that hill. If you want some real deal Holyfield ass gameplay, go ahead and play Battlefield. And even the most recent Battlefield, Battlefield 6, feels more arcadey than a traditional Battlefield title. So I think that might be saying something about arcade-like shooters. Now, a lot of things do sound good, maybe they don't to you, but I think they sound okay. But I guess let's kind of mentally masturbate about ranked here. Transparency. Developers actually communicating with us, giving us roadmaps, explaining changes, and telling us why they made certain changes. Even if we don't like the answer, there is a good chance we'll be like, okay, at least we know why they did this. And it can't just be one of those brain dead answers like, oh, because I said so, like a freaking narcissistic ass parent. And obviously a better anti-cheat. We've been saying this for years, man, and I hate to feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but if the anti-cheat doesn't get it together, man, ranked is gonna be dead on arrival. The game might just be dead on arrival. So I guess Colt Havoc was streaming yesterday, and he was literally having a conversation with cheaters, and they were pretty much glazing Valorant's anti-cheat because it damn near has access to like every file in your PC. If we have to go to those lengths, I personally wouldn't even care. I don't know about you guys, I don't have anything weird on my computer. Obviously there is some shit that I don't want public, and in my opinion, I will be more worried about getting hacked. But the way a lot of people make it sound is they got some nefarious shit on their computer that aren't just cheats, if you know what I mean. But I hate to say it, as long as you have Ricochet, I don't think these cheaters are going anywhere, man, unfortunately. Now, I am hearing rumors that the SR system that we have now is probably going to be the same going into Modern Warfare 4. I think it's okay at this point in time. I know a lot of people like the pre-season 4 type rank system, which was also fine in my opinion. But as of right now, I do think this is kind of going to be the system we're riding out for at least the next, I don't know, next few ranked seasons, including the rest of Black Ops 7 and the beginning of Modern Warfare 4. But things could change, and I'll definitely be keeping a close eye on that kind of stuff. Now, placements are cool. I do think placements should come back, but I do think throwing everybody in a bronze could maybe call for a little bit longer player attention, depending on how much SR people are getting. But being in bronze just feels like freaking a cartoon, bro. And obviously, we do need some solid maps. We have seen a few a couple of months back. Didn't hear anybody say that the maps were bad that played the game early. And if the hijack mode works, that will be an absolute W. I think we need maps that work for all 3 game modes, or even just 2. But if we got some W maps, a whole lot of stuff will just fall into place. Now, one thing that I did peep seeing that I thought was kind of cool, but it could be kind of corny. If there was a smoke grenade on site, you could go ahead and kind of shoot through it, and it'll kind of create an opening to where you can actually see through the smoke. Now, it will disappear shortly, but I think this is kind of cool. Now, with this clip in particular, it's kind of extreme because she's using a shotgun, right? Let's say if we're using a smoke grenade in ranked, if you're using an AR or an SMG, there is a good chance that you won't get a smoke hole, if that makes sense, that big. Now, I know I've been yapping for a good bit here. Lock in with the advanced gamer supplements. I know you're already kind of half listening, and for you, we have focus supplements. Now, if all you had to drink today was Monster, Red Bull, and coffee, we have hydration supplements for you. And we also have energy subs for the 9 to 5 dads that can't stay up past 8 p.m. on a Friday night. Cold Nerves 10, NRVS 10 for anything you want to cop off of the advanced GG store. This stuff slaps, man. Now, at the end of the day, if Modern Warfare 4 gets like half of this right, I think the game and the competitive space has a good chance of being pretty solid this year. In my opinion, the multiplayer foundation looks pretty decent. You know, again, not gonna glaze it. I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic about it, but a lot of the times shit falls on its face at the beta and definitely at launch. And if you're looking for teammates, looking to talk Modern Warfare 4, share your best clips, your best loadouts, or just a community to hang out with, man, it's not even just a Call of Duty server, I invite you to the collective Cortex. If we dig your vibe, you'll most likely get approved, and we got a spot for you. If you made it to the end, thank you for sticking around, and essentially just let us know your Modern Warfare 4 wish list at this point, man. Check out one of these 2 videos here, and I'll see you over there.